Today was supposed to be the DACA deadline before it expired, but apparently a judge said no to the president, and it's been extended. And for those who don't know, DACA is when the Father Messiah was in office in the White House, Obama. He brought in all these illegal alien children, and many of them have joined MS-13 gangs and all kind of stuff, and we're paying for them. Well, they're supposed to go home today. It's not happening. Julissa Arce is back. She's the author of My Underground, American Dream, contributor to CNBC and the Huffington Post, co-founder of Ascend Educational Fund, and board member of the National Immigration Law. Julissa, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for coming. So your mother brought you here illegally, is that right?
No, my mom brought me here when I was 11 years old. I came here on a plane with a tourist visa, and my visa later expired, and I became undocumented.
You became undocumented. Are you still an undocumented alien?
Well, I was never an alien. I'm a human just like you. But no, I'm not undocumented anymore. I became a citizen in 2014.
And so the DACA deadline was supposed to end today, expire today. And a liberal judge said, no, we're not going to allow that to happen. What do you think about that?
The Trump administration, requested that the Supreme Court review this case.
Right.
And it was the Supreme Court, as a body, who said, no, this has to go back through the normal legal process. So it's not that the court said DACA cannot end. They simply said DACA has to be reviewed by the normal legal process, so it has to go through the Court of Appeals. And if it makes it up all the way to the Supreme Court, then they will review the case. So that's what they said. And because they said that it has to go back through the legal process, as of now, DACA, people who have DACA can continue to apply for DACA to be renewed.
Amazing.
But it's not. They're not accepting any. The government is not accepting any new applications. It's only accepting those applications from those people whose permits have already expired or are expiring.
It's so amazing to me that this was unconstitutional in the beginning, and yet we are going through our court system trying to decide what to do with illegal aliens. Common sense, and I'm sure you would agree with this, common sense says ship them back home and let them try to come through the front door in the right way. You as a citizen now, you're a citizen, right? You would agree with me on that.
Well, I think there are a few things that you said in your opening that, if I may, I'd like to address. So you said that it was President Obama who brought all these undocumented people into the country. And that's not what happened, because what DACA did is it gave young undocumented people who came here when they were children, so through no choice of their own, because when you're 2 years old, or like, for example, me, I was 11 years old when my mom brought me here, right? As an 11-year-old girl, I'm not choosing to go live in a different country. My parents chose to brought me here.
Right.
And so what the program DACA did is gave people who have been here for a long time already, who came here when they were children, who didn't have a criminal record, it gave them the ability to work for 2 years, and it said, we won't deport you. And every 2 years, you have to go through a background check again, which means we are checking to make sure that these people who are getting DACA are not MS-13 gang members. They don't have any kind of criminal record, which is why they can have this permit in the first place. And
but
so,
you got to admit, the Father Messiah, Barack Obama, allow unaccompanied alien children to flood into the country as well. We were watching this happen on TV.
No,
so not all of them were sent by their parents, and some just came as a result of Barack Obama allowing it. They just everybody and their mama came in.
I think that's incorrect because no,
Barack we were watching it on TV. Why do liberals always tell us we don't really see what we see?
Well, I think
it's like a man taking off his male body parts and attaching a female body part to his body. And now the liberals say, no, this is a woman. We know that is a man. But no, no, no. Why do they do that?
Well, I'm not sure who does it. I'm not doing that, and I'm not trying to do that. What I am trying to say, though, is that, for example, for DACA, you had to have been in the country when DACA was enacted, which was in 2012. So if you came after that, if you weren't here when the program was established, you wouldn't be able to apply for the program. So it's a false notion to say that the program opened the doors for people to come into the country, because that's not what happened. And the program DACA is only for young undocumented people who came here
but
before
it's wrong,
the age of
though.
16.
It's still wrong. In 2012, you had to be something like 16 or under.
Under, yeah.
And today, I believe it's something like over 70% of these illegal alien children are 21 years old and older. And so...
Yeah, so the program said you have to have
but
been
the
here
point
before
is,
you were 16.
we are not supposed to let illegals come into our country like this. That's the whole problem. We need to put a wall around the borders, send these people back, and be fair to the folks who are trying to come through the front door. But first, put America first. You would agree, right? It's just wrong for illegals to be here. Let me ask you this. What do you think about these people now? They're in our faces trying to tell us what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. They're out marching and protesting, and they're like, hey, I'm an illegal alien.
I'm out there marching and protesting with them.
Should they be arrested, though? How do you go to my house, and when I say I don't want you here illegally, you get in my face?
Well, I would say that, there's been a lot of polls done about what Americans and what American people think should be done with these dreamers, with these young undocumented people. And what these polls have found, and some of these are Fox News polls, and some of these are polls that have been run by conservative groups. And as a whole, there are 86% of Americans and 70% of Republicans who agree that these dreamers, so we're not talking about the broader undocumented population, but the population of dreamers, that they should be allowed to stay in the country, and that they should that there should be a path to citizenship given by Congress. So when you're saying that it's these young undocumented people who are telling us what to do, it's not them telling us what to do. It's the American public who supports them, and the American public who wants there to be a solution for this problem.
I know that the Democrats, liberal Democrats, are for it because they want the votes. They want to use foreigners to vote for them. And there are some godless conservative groups who are for amnesty because they don't care about what is right, but it still doesn't make it right that these illegals are here. That's my thing. They need to go home. Julissa, tell the folks how to get your book, My Underground American Dream.
Underground American Dream is available anywhere books are sold, on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, at your local bookstore. And on September 4th, my new book called Someone Like Me is coming out on September 4th.
What do you, and we'll have you back for that. We put a picture of the book, your book now up. Let me ask, the Great White Hope has been there for a year now, a little over a year. What do you think about the great work he's done thus far?
Wait, who?
The Great White Hope.
The Great White Hope. Who is that?
The president.
Oh.
There's only one. There's only one walking this earth.
Oh, my goodness. That's a lot to take in. I haven't had enough coffee yet.
Do you think that it's good that he has put America first?
Yeah, I think some of the policies that he has enacted and some of his agenda, it might have a sort of immediate positive impact on some people, but in the long run, some of the policies that he enacted, I think, are not gonna be that great. Like, for example, like the tax bill, right? I think that there might be some of the people watching the show who are seeing a small increase in the paycheck they get every month because the taxes have gone
Isn't that beautiful?
down. Right? I do think it's a great thing. However, those tax cuts for people like you and I and the people listening, those tax cuts go away after 10 years. So in 10 years, those tax cuts won't be there anymore.
Well, we'll deal with that in 10 years.
Well,
but 10 years is not promised to us. We'll take on now.
Yeah, but who will continue to have the tax cuts and who will have tax cuts forever unless the law changes are corporations and the richest Americans. So 1% of Americans are the ones who benefit the most from this tax bill. And I don't think that that's a great thing. I think that the people who should benefit are the people who are working, who are trying to put food on the table. The people who need it the most should be the ones that we help the most, and that's not what this bill.
But the so-called 1%ers are the ones who create the jobs. But let me say, did you hear that New York and California and those states that are not for the tax cuts are now, the 1%ers are now trying to scramble to figure out how to keep their money? Because in California, places like that,
I used to work,
and they're even taking their money and trying to pretend that they have donated the money to nonprofits in order to get the taxes.
Yeah, but that has been going on, by the way, forever. Like I worked,
but it's the Democrats who are doing it.
I worked on Wall Street for 10 years, and my clients were people who had $25-50 million, and always people who are affluent, who have a lot of money, have always tried to pay the least amount of taxes because they have resources and they can figure out, they can hire people to help them.
I want to pay the least amount.
Assets.
I think that's a normal thing. People don't, taxes are so high today. People don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to pay taxes.
Me neither.
I wish I didn't have to pay one dime of tax.
But if we didn't pay taxes,
I understand we got to do something, yes.
We wouldn't
but,
have.
the government wastes our money, welfare and all this
the government wasted on
illegal aliens.
Well, hang on a second. So
illegal aliens are getting more from my taxes than I am.
I don't think that's
true. They get
true.
free stuff. I got to ask you this.
When I was undocumented, I got $0 of free stuff. I was never on any kind of benefits.
How about your mother?
I don't know when. No, my mom had a business in this country. She created jobs and employed U.S. citizens.
Did she pay taxes?
Business. Of course, she paid taxes.
Is your father here now?
My dad is in heaven.
Oh, sorry to hear about that. Let me ask one last thing. Well, not one last thing. You know what just really gets to me is that the illegals come here and they're in your face. They're blocking you from getting into Disneyland down in Orange County, California. They're protesting in Washington, D.C. If they're so brave, why can't they go back to Mexico or wherever they came from and straighten out their own country? Why not use that bravery at home rather than in our faces?
So I think...
Isn't that a good question?
It's a good question, so I'm going to answer it. There are a lot of young undocumented people who have been here since they were 2 years old.
But they're still not citizens.
9 months old. And imagine how much they want to be here, that they are fighting every single day for their right.
Go home and fight.
All they want to do, all these young people are fighting for, is for the opportunity to give to this country everything they have. They want to be able to work here. They want to be able to pay more taxes here. They want to be able to contribute to the only country that they call home.
No, but it's not home, though. The reality is this is not home. Your home is where you came from. So go home and do those things. That's what happens when folks come to my house and they stay 2 weeks and they start running up the telephone bill, the electricity, and the gas bill. I said, look, you got to go home. Go home and do that. It's the right thing. Go home, be brave, fix your own country, and then show a sense of appreciation that I didn't allow, but we allowed you to come here for a minute, get an education. Now go home and do your thing. I would think that a woman like you, your mother brought you here at the age of 6, I believe? 11, and you're now a citizen. I would think that you would jump on board and work with me and the Great White Hope and others to put a big, beautiful wall around the borders to stop these illegals from coming in, get rid of the MS-13 gang members, and put the country first to kind of show your appreciation.
I
Am
love
wrong?
this country.
But why not put it
I
first?
think that this country is the greatest country on earth, which is why why I fight so hard for others like me to have access to the opportunities that I had access to, and that's all we're asking for, is for people to have an
But
opportunity.
you're talking about illegals, people who are breaking the law. If you put the country first, why not insist that they come in the right way to show a respect for the greatest country on this side of heaven?
There's a lot, and we probably don't have time to get into all of it. But when we tell people go back and do it the right way, as soon as someone leaves the country when they're undocumented, they get hit with a 10-year ban, which means they can't come back for 10 years. And there was recently a story about.
But that's fine. That's not a problem.
Well, that might be okay for you and I to say as we're discussing these people's lives who are real people.
But they're going
some
home.
of them have. So I'll give you an example. There's a couple. The woman has DACA, and her husband is in the army, and he's being deployed, and they have a 2-year-old daughter. So if she gets deported and he is deployed fighting for our country, for our freedom, he
Right.
is a service member. And what if she gets deported? What happens to their daughter?
She can go
fair
back home, go with the mama.
And so you want the soldier who's fighting for our freedom to leave the U.S.
At this point, I'm fed up with the illegals. I'm fed up with high taxes.
So you
I'm
would
fed
turn your
up
back
with in your
on a
face.
U.S. soldier.
I want them to go home. I just want them to go home, give me a break, and then we can figure out. That's all I want. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having
I'm going to have you back. I love talking to you.
me. Thank you.